Around 10 years ago, I started looking at my health, trying to take care of myself, and I started wondering why Elon Musk is taking me to Mars, but I still spend a third of my life on a piece of dumb foam.
Matteo Franceschetti isn't just making mattresses, he is redefining the role of sleep in our daily lives. Enter 8 Sleep, a company that's taking sleep from a basic necessity to a key factor in optimizing your well-being. 8 Sleep has gone global, securing a valuation of over $500 million and establishing itself as a business leader in sleep technology.
Our goal is to improve your sleep and save your life. And so we really have followed the approach of a Red Bull or Nike, but for sleep. Usually sleep has always been about the lazy Sundays in bed, but it's all about giving you the energy, the stamina, and the drive to achieve your wildest dreams.
Hear the stories, learn the proven methods, and accelerate your growth and future through entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Foundr podcast with Nathan Chan.
Well, welcome, Matteo. Super excited to speak with you. As I said offline, your product, 8 Sleep, it has been an absolute game changer for mine and my girlfriend's sleep. I cannot recommend it enough. I speak to so many friends about it. It is the coolest thing ever. So first of all, congratulations on building such an incredible product. The first question that I want to ask you is, what inspired you to start 8 Sleep, and how did your personal experiences shape what the vision of this company is?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I used to be an athlete when I was a teenager, so I have always been in performance and recovery, and I always understood the importance of sleep. And so around 10 years ago, I started looking at my health again, trying to take care of myself, thinking about longevity and wellness. And I started wondering why Elon Musk is taking me to Mars, but I still spend a third of my life on a piece of dumb foam. Why there is no technology in a third of my life, right? Let's say I live 100 years. Hopefully I'm lucky. That is 33 years of my life. And we live with iPhones and technology everywhere, but not in those 33 years.
Yeah, crazy. So I agree. Like it's a crazy thought, right? Like sleep is absolutely everything. And more than ever now, there's this massive trend around longevity, around kind of, optimized wellness and looking after yourself and being super healthy through using technical devices, right? Using technology. Like we've got the Whoop, we're interviewing the founder of the Whoop soon, Will Ahmed. Now we're speaking to yourself. There's so many crazy devices and basically products out there that can help you optimize all areas of your life. So is 8 Sleep your first business?
It's my third business. I had 2 companies before. One was in Europe, one was in the US, and they were in the clean tech space, so in solar energy.
Got you. And what happened there, just briefly? Like, did you exit them? Were they successful? Did they fail?
Yeah, they exited. So I had an exit with both of them. They didn't reach the level of 8 Sleep today. So hopefully 8 Sleep will be the biggest success. But both of them, they were quite a good story.
Yep. Okay. And just like for the audience, can you give kind of any numbers around how far 8 Sleep's gotten as a business, revenue, customers, users?
Yeah, we don't share the details, but we are in the hundreds of millions in revenue. And we got there. The current product is the pod, which is this mattress cover that you can install onto any bed to improve your sleep. We launched the pod just 4 years ago, around 4 years ago in 2019, 4 years and a half. And it went from 0 to hundreds of millions in revenue in a matter of 4 years and a half, which is pretty unique for an hardware product like that. We have hundreds of thousands of customers. We sell in the US, Canada, UK, Europe, Australia. We are open in Mexico and also UAE, so the Middle East. And so we start having a global scale and a global presence. And we have raised 160 million, 160, from some of the best investors in Silicon Valley. So we are very well funded, but we also have incredible unit economics. And so we have been free cash flow positive for the past 12 months.
Yeah, wow, impressive. So talk to me, like you asked yourself the question, Elon Musk is taking people to Mars. Why, like, you know, we spend 1/3 of our life sleeping. Why is there no revolutionary product to optimize our sleep? Tell us, like, how did that journey go to creating this crazy pod cover with water and cooling inside of it and an app? Like, how did that start? Talk us through, like, I'd love to go back to like the early days.
Yeah. So the early days, I mean, let's take a step back so I can give you a bit more about the story. But so the two key co-founders with me, one is Max, who is our CTO, and then there is my wife, and she runs brand and marketing. And so my wife and I, we always used to have sort of hackathons at home, the two of us building stuff during the weekend. And we started involving Max because he's the real genius, the real technical genius. And so we have been playing with a couple of different projects until when I started having the idea about sleep. I pitched it to Max. We created the first pajama party. So we built a prototype and we invited some friends to his house in San Francisco. Alexandra created a beautiful presentation. And before the end of the night, one of our friends came to me and say, I love the thing. Can I give you $25K? And can I be the first check into the company? But there was no company, right? At the time, I still had my second company, which I was selling. And so I was playing around with different projects to see what would come next. And that is how the company started. So we incorporated, we took the $25K check. And then we started with a crowdfunding campaign, which at the time was, there was still a lot of hype around Indiegogo and similar platforms for hardware. Now, I don't think it's the same anymore. The launch was extremely successful. So we sold 8,000 units in pre-orders. After that, we got into Y Combinator. And there is another funny story because we got rejected twice from YC. And so the third time a partner reaches out, he's a partner focused on hardware. So we meet, he's really impressed by us and he says, you should apply. And I say, look, I don't want to apply again. I already got rejected twice. Why should I do it again? And the partner says, no, apply. And let's see what can happen now that you have all this traction and you have evidence, right? And so we decided to time bound it. And instead of taking days for the application, we just literally do a matter of an hour. And then we got into Y Combinator. And I think TechCrunch at the end of the program of the summer 15 describe us as one of the hottest companies in the batch.
Interesting. That's awesome. So why, like, there's a lot to unpack there. I'm curious, why did you keep applying if they kept rejecting you? And what were their reasons rejecting you?
Well, I think the first two times we were very early. It was pre-orders, hardware company, in sleep. So at the time, sleep was not such a hot topic as it is today. Consumer hardware is very difficult. If you have no evidence of traction in consumer demand, it's even more difficult. And so sometimes the YC partners, they really say, I picked the hardest and most complicated type of business I could ever pick. And so they really want us to be successful so we could become one of the most successful YC companies in hardware and consumer.
Can you talk us through, Matteo, what did the product iteration look like going from pod 4 to now? What did pod 1 look like? What did the first pod look like?
Yeah. So the first product of the company was not even a pod. It was the cover, but it was just tracking your sleep. And since when I started doing customer discovery, the thing we realized was that people were saying, look, this is nice, and I might be interested, but what I really want is cooling. And the reason is 60-70% of the couples, they fight around temperature because different people have different preferences. Other users have menopause or they have hot flashes. Other people just sleep hot. And so everyone kept asking, literally 80-90% of the people I was talking to, they were asking for cooling. And so things really changed in 2017 when Keith Rabois and Khosla Ventures decided to invest in us and give us the money to build the pod. And the pod was the game changer. And as I said, in a matter of 4 years and a half, we went from zero to hundreds of millions in revenue.
So it was only when you launched the pod that you found true product market fit.
Yeah. Before it was good, but it was not insanely great. now I would say is insanely great. The product sells itself without pushing too hard.
And I think that encompasses what it means to when you want to start a business, getting the product right. Because if you get the product right, it will sell itself.
Correct. And I think the other lesson I learned is, particularly in hardware, there is a rule of thumb that usually takes 3 generations for a product to become really good in hardware. Okay. And so you should assume that generation 1 and generation 2 are okay, but they're not great. And so you need to have such a product market fit in hardware where people want your product so badly that even if generation 1 or generation 2 is not optimal, they are still buying it because you need to make the money to get to generation 3. And that is what happened to us, right? It was the first product, even if it was not perfect in every single detail in terms maybe of comfort, of noise, and other tiny details. People still wanted it so badly that they were paying for it, and they were paying at a price that would allow us to have decent unit economics. And so that is how we scale. And now we're finally at Pod 4, which is an insanely good product that perfectly does everything we always wanted to do.
So now Pod 4, it's so good. I have a Pod 4, vibration alarm, anti-snoring detection that will slightly elevate you, cooling before you get into bed, autopilot that adjusts your temperature. Like you said, the product truly sells itself. Anyone listening to this right now will be like, wow, I got to get one of these.
Yeah. It's really, really good. It's the real perfect mass consumer product that we envision since day one. But as a startup, it takes time to get there.
Really? So it was from speaking to customers that you found the evolution of what got you to product market fit. How many customers did you speak to?
Hundreds, and then thousands, because once we started selling the first product, which was not a pod, we still sold 8,000 units in pre-order. So the company was already doing well, but it was not doing this well.
So hundreds, if not thousands of customers, you were speaking to customers?
Yeah. There was an email I was sending to literally every customer. It was automatic, and it would come from my email. And so if they were replying, it would just go in my inbox, and he said, look, this is Matteo. I'm the CEO of 8 Sleep. I would like to chat with you and get any product feedback. And then on top of that, I was doing customer calls. That is how I got to thousands of feedback. And
when it came to how many calls did you have to do to know what to do next? Because I think a lot of people, they have this fear to speak to customers, right? And they like to assume that they know what a customer wants, and they fall in love with the product, not the problem. What advice or what would your kind of lessons be there?
Yeah, I would say the thing of cooling was overwhelming. You can't miss it. And even today, when we look at other features, usually you look at patterns, and maybe you look at something that 20% of your customers might look at or care about. But this thing of temperature control and the cooling was something that literally 80% of the people I was talking to were asking for that. And there was already also plenty of clinical evidence that by cooling and heating your body during the night, that you would improve your sleep. So we didn't reinvent the wheel. We were just the first company to really build a mass consumer product that is premium and well-designed and well-executed and distributed across the world. So there was this massive need that people were not able to articulate, but they had a very clear problem and a very clear need. And I just saw that and solved it.
So tell me how, so you found the problem, but how did you actually create the product? Talk me through that. And I'd love to know nitty-gritty details, because you're creating a product that didn't exist. You can't go to Alibaba and private label. You can't, you're breaking mold, but you're using technology as well. How much did it cost to build this product?
Yeah, I mean, it took us millions to get there. Obviously, we already had a team in China that we hired for the first product, the original product before the pod. which actually there is a funny story because we didn't have a team in China. We had to manufacture. We just finished Y Combinator, and we had to build the 8,000 units we sold in pre-orders, right, of this product one. And so I go to my wife and I say, look, manufacturing is now happening in China. I have to go to China and fix it. And she says, oh, cool. So when are you going to go to China? And I say, tomorrow. And she say, okay. And when are you going to come back? And I say, once I fix it. And so I came back 3 months later. But since then, the same team I hired back then is the same team that built the pod and is still with us today. So going back to your question, how did we make that? We had a product team in the US. I was very involved in every product detail. On the technical side, my co-founder Max was very involved. And then we had engineers, mechanical and electrical engineers. And then we had our team in China.
Yeah, wow. So to create even the first version of 8 Sleep before the pod, you had to raise money, right? And that was built by Kickstarter. How much you raised on Kickstarter?
On Kickstarter, it was Indiegogo. So a couple of things. So on Indiegogo, I think we did somewhere between 1 and 2 million, a million and a half. But we also raised money from investors. Before YC, I think we raised around $1 million from family and friends. And after Demo Day at Y Combinator, we raised $6 million in one day. And so that was the money that took us, through the manufacturing of the first product. And then Khosla Ventures led the round, I think it was somewhere around $8-9 million. And that was the money that we used to build the pod. Got you.
Yeah, okay. So we're talking tens of millions of dollars in product development. This is crazy. And I guess from the sounds of it, the only thing that gave you the conviction was speaking to customers to raise that amount of money to know what you had to build, because it was evidently obvious that people wanted the cooling.
Yes, I would add there was a lot of naivete, meaning if I would go back with all that I know today, I don't know how we made it happen, and I don't know if I would start the journey back then. But now I'm really happy. I would start the journey as an entrepreneur. I would still want to do what we are doing, right? Because our goal is to improve your sleep and save your life. And so I don't think there is a much bigger mission that you can accomplish in life. But the scale of the challenges you have to face in consumer hardware is insanely high. Like every other company that I know that started with us in hardware is dead. We are literally the only ones that I survive of all my friends starting at the same time. Even if you think of Indiegogo and all these crowdfunding campaigns, how many companies went under? And the reason is they didn't have the unit economics. They were not able to manage inventory efficiently. They were not able to raise money. They didn't have a real business.
So many companies that have tried to solve like the hardware kind of software solution problem, like you say, are dead. So what is different between what you did versus them? Like what kept you going? Were there times where it looked like it wasn't going to work?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I still remember plenty of times where we were weeks, how you say, weeks from the street when you run out of money. And so I have still vivid, visually, I still remember a bunch of those times when I had the conversation with my co-founders. I remember plenty of times where, we had almost a Series A locked and then the investor walked away for good reasons, meaning it just happened. Sometimes the other problem that happens in hardware is you might discover late that certain things, they cost you way more than what you expected. And so maybe the price doesn't work anymore, or the margins is way lower than what you expected. It's all your projections. If you start moving hundreds of thousands of units and you start changing your margins by $10, you start losing millions without you making any change to anything in your business. It just happens overnight, the day you discover it. And so having this ability and agility to make sure you stay lean and you are almost a cockroach in how you deploy your money while you survive and you get growth, that is what you need at 10x in this kind of business compared to a software SaaS.
Yeah. So if there was one story that you could tell where you guys, like you said, you were weeks, like how many times did that happen where you were weeks from the street?
5?
5 times.
Well, 4 or 5, somewhere around there.
Wow. What one out of those 4 or 5 was the most memorable? Any crazy stories you could share there?
Yeah, so at the time we were talking to a major mattress manufacturer to kind of embed our technology. We never really wanted to license the technology, but there was a lot of push from investors in the early days. And so it was a concept like Intel Inside, but with our technology, right? And so I have been negotiating this deal forever, and we got a term sheet to lead the Series A based on that term sheet. And a few days before we signed the term sheet, I got a call from the person at this mattress manufacturer, and they just say, look, guys, we decided to pass. We don't want to work with you. We don't want to work with the startup. And I tried to convince them. I say, I can fly there to meet you, blah, blah, blah. The answer is no. They push back. And so I called the investor, and the investor says, look, Matteo, I told you, we had a deal where I was giving you the money and the term sheet on the assumption that this deal would happen. And so if now you tell me it's not going to happen, I'm going to walk away. And they walk away. And at that point, I think we had like 3 or 4 weeks of money in the bank to keep paying the team and everyone. And so I still remember my co-founder, Max, at the time was smoking. And so we go downstairs and he's smoking in front of the door at the office in New York. Our office was in Tribeca. And so I still remember very clearly him smoking his face and us calculating the number of weeks we had left. But then we are cockroaches, and so we got it done. We figured it out. I found another investor. We raised, I think, $10 million. So we did the A, and that happened. I remember we were negotiating. This investor was from China, and so a lot of negotiation was in the middle of the night for me, and he was a very, very hard negotiator. It's not that he was the standard guy who follows the U.S. standard terms. He was trying to play tough. And this playing tough was happening somewhere between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. So there was no way in the middle I could sleep because there was so much tension in negotiating these details. But we got it done.
Hey guys, I really hope you're feeling inspired from today's interview. Now the truth is, all successful e-commerce founders started from zero, with a spark of an idea and a whole lot of determination. But let's be real. Building or growing an e-commerce business is no walk in the park. And that's where Foundr Plus comes in, which I'm really excited to share with you. It's a culmination of a decade worth of work at Foundr. So if you're feeling stuck in your e-commerce business, you're lacking confidence to move forward, or you're worried about making costly mistakes or not knowing how to grow your business, Foundr Plus is here to support you on your journey. You get access to a customized learning pathway with proven frameworks from successful e-commerce founders for fast results, incredible programs, a supportive community, weekly live mentorship, exclusive savings on startup tools, and 24/7 real human support. Try Foundr Plus today for just $1 for 7 days so you can accelerate your business goals. Visit foundr.com/start $trial or click the link in the description to claim your trial. All right, now let's jump back in the show. Yeah, wow. And do you think that if it wasn't for you guys flying really close to the sun, that you wouldn't have been able to get where you are today?
Yeah, 100%. But I also think there is something in the founders so far, at least in my co-founders, that was able to take us where we are with the conditions we had to face, right? We had to stay very nimble. We had to stay very lean, even compared to other hardware companies. It's hard. Hardware is hard because there are a lot of hidden costs that you don't know until when you know. And then don't forget one important thing, when you look at some of the most valuable companies in the world, they are consumer hardware companies because you think of Apple and Tesla. And so the hard part is really the beginning, the first couple of years. Then at a certain point, the business becomes more stable, more predictable. You really understand the unit economics. And at that point, if you have product market fit, you can build an insanely big company. But the first 2-3 years are the hardest.
team is also critical as well. I've heard you openly speak about your hiring process. Would you be able to share that, like what you look for when you hire?
It took me a while, and it became less and less, but more and more important. And I look for two things. I look for signs of greatness and what I call Mamba mentality from Kobe Bryant. So greatness to me means doesn't matter in what, right? Personal or professional life. Before joining 8 Sleep, you must have been great at something. You don't become great in your life for the first time at 30 years old joining 8 Sleep or 25 years old, And so tell me something that you did where you were exceptional. And I don't care if it was chess. I don't know if it was about repairing your dishwasher, helping your grandma, or you were at Harvard winning math competitions. But I want a sign of greatness. And the second one is the Mamba mentality, which to me is, are you going to work insanely hard? Are you very ambitious? Are you extremely motivated to join 8 Sleep?
How many people do you have to interview, do you find, to find people with those couple of characteristics around Mamba mentality and also signs of greatness in something?
Yeah, now there was a funnel for a key role, which I think we really nailed, which we call it the business operation manager. But then really from this role, you could go into product ops or different roles. We got 3,700 applications and we hired 3 people.
Wow. So you hire this particular role quite often because it's a generalized role, and then people can branch out where they're strong.
Yeah, they are so good. And at that point, you just say, okay, there are all these needs in the company, what you want to do, but you just create one role. And so you create one big funnel. And then at that point, we created specific and special applications that is not market practice, but I didn't like what was market practice. And so I wanted to take the bar to the next level.
Yeah, wow. When did you start doing this?
This one is recent. We started this new format 4 or 5 months ago.
Yep.
Because I was not happy with previous formats.
Interesting. So you have a funnel that looks for a business operations manager. You whittle it down to 3,700 people. You literally whittle it down to 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hired 3.
Do you have a big team now?
No, we keep it super lean. I think that is an area where we are insanely great. Every time I talk to investors, my number one metric is the revenue per employee. And I think we are unbeatable. We're better than Apple at that.
Oh, okay. If people want to do the numbers, they can probably work back what you're at in terms of revenue. So how many employees do you have?
Let's avoid the specific numbers so not everyone can make the math.
Yep. Okay. All right. But let's assume that it's like under 50 or something like it's definitely under 100.
Yeah, it's more than 50. Yeah, it's more than 50. Yeah. It's in the hundreds.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But not many comparably to revenue.
Yeah. No. Very, very little compared to the amount of revenue we make in.
Yeah. And why is that important to you? Like you said, that's one of the number one things that.
Well, because I think. I can tell you, I can talk for hours to tell you how hard we work, how intense we are, how good is my team. But at the end of the day, there is only one metric. Can 100 people do the job of 300 in another company? And if the answer is yes, then I can measure it for you, then there is no debate that my team is better than yours. It's as good as that. So when you hear those employees saying, not those employees, those CEOs saying, oh, I have 800 employees. And maybe they make $500 million in revenue. Those metrics, they suck. And so they should be ashamed to tell you that they have 800 employees. They're wasting money, right? If you want to do $500 million in revenue, do it with 150 people, not 800. And I tell you that I can achieve the same with 80% less people than you, because my people are better than yours.
And it's interesting. One of the number one questions people ask you when they first hear about your business or you're getting to know someone is they say, how many employees do you have? Yeah. And why do they ask that?
Yeah, it's a stupid question. I mean, it's normal, right? So I understand what they do. They try to size your business. But what they completely miss is the person who has 800 employees to make $500 million might sound bigger than the one who has 150 making $500 million. between the two, where would you invest your money? In the one who makes $500 million with 150 people or 800? I go with 150.
Exactly. That makes sense. Okay. So when it comes to, I guess, when you are pitching investors, how has your pitch been refined? Because you said that you faced a lot of resistance, and a lot of people didn't understand the potential of sleep technology. Now it's hot, but it was not 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Well, I learned an incredible lesson there, which I didn't know or realize at the beginning. If you look at our cap table, we have some of the best investors in Silicon Valley. We have Valor Equity Partners, Antonio Gracias, best friend of Elon Musk and first board member of Tesla. This guy joined when Tesla was worth 70 million, right? So one of the greatest. We have Vinod Khosla and Keith Rabois from Khosla Ventures, which are some of the greatest. And then we have Trey Stevens, who is the founder of Foundr, which is a $14 billion company, and he's a partner at Foundr, right? And it's not a coincidence that some of our best investors, most of our investors are some of the best investors. And I tell you why. The reason is the best investors, they have a vision of what the world will become. And all our guys, they always thought that someone will own sleep and will disrupt that industry, which is worth $500 billion with technology. I don't have to convince them that that is going to happen. I just have to convince them that I am the best CEO and my team is the best team to make that happen. While instead, usually tier 2 investors, they still don't really think about the future of the world. They just think of us like, oh, these guys are selling a mattress cover that heats and cools your bed. But they don't understand that the whole point of this company is to own the $500 billion industry that is called sleep. And then the debate is if we are the good people to do it or not. But I never had to discuss with my investors, the one that led our rounds, the fact that that is going to happen in the world. There will be $1 trillion business that owns sleep. Everyone sleep. Then if it's Eight Sleep or someone else, let's debate that. So they have a bigger vision of what will happen in the world. This is what makes you an insanely great investor. And then you just find the partner, the right company to accomplish that vision that you know they will happen.
But there would have been tier 1 investors that knocked you guys back.
Yeah, some they did. But still tier 1 investors led our rounds and we never had the tier 2.
Yep, okay.
Because then we also have General Catalyst, Y Combinator, Patrick and John Collison, the founder of Cruise, the founder of Flexport, right? So the Rolodex of our investors is insanely great, and because these guys are visionaries.
So over time, though, like the pitch has changed to the grander vision, right, and the size of the TAM. But then also, I think what you're saying and what I'm hearing is because investors, first and foremost, they go with the vision and the size of the opportunity, but they're looking as well at the unit economics, and your unit economics have got really, really, really good from what you're telling me.
Which is really hard, particularly in the early days. But now we got there. It was painful, but we got there.
You've also done partnerships from a branding perspective with athletes, teams, Mercedes, AMG, Petronas Formula One team. How has that contributed to the growth of 8 Sleep, and why? Why did you do that?
You do it for a couple of reasons. First, athletes, they need us, right? So there is just a logical, organic relationship. And so you can think that 60-70% of Formula One drivers, they sleep on our product. A lot of NBA and NFL players, CrossFit champion, top tennis players, right? They need better sleep. They need better recovery. And so there is a natural match. The second big step is by working with these athletes, you set the bar for what the product can do. And it helps you to set, to make and build an aspirational brand. And so we really have followed the approach of a Red Bull or a Nike, but for sleep. So we wanted to be contrarian. Usually sleep has always been about lazy Sundays in bed with pancake. Well, instead for us, it's all about sleep fitness and sleep performance, right? Sleep is a mean to achieve the greatness during the day. Then doesn't need to be like an athlete. It could be with your kids, it could be with your family, it could be your professional life. But it's all about giving you the energy, the stamina, and the drive to achieve your wildest dreams.
You talked about aspirational brand. Why do you want to be an aspirational brand?
Well, I always thought, I come from Italy, where there are a lot of aspirational brands, right? You can go from Ferrari to Lamborghini to all the fashion. And one of the things I learned, and I stole from my country, even if I moved to the US, is that it's way better to be a premium product than a cheap product. If you're a cheap product, it becomes very easily a price war. And a startup cannot afford the price war. You will die as a startup. You need margins. And so the way you generate margins is just by building a better product that is premium and aspirational, and people pay that premium for you. And you use that premium for R&D and to grow your team and build a long-term company.
That's very clever. So looking back on your entrepreneurial journey, what are some things that you might have done differently?
Well, I think it always goes back to people. I didn't study in the US, so my network at the beginning in the US was fairly limited. It's not that I come from Stanford or any other big college and I can just recruit a bunch of smart friends. I come from Italy, I moved here alone. And so probably it took me longer than what I would have wanted to find and hire some of the incredible people I now have in my team. The head of our R&D, the head of our hardware, ops, engineering, and all that. And so if I could have accelerated that, maybe we would be where we are instead than X years later in 20% less time, which would mean we will have more cash in the bank and we would be growing faster. So, like an entrepreneur, you try to find efficiencies everywhere. But I think, honestly, we did pretty well and fairly fast.
Yeah, I agree. What's been the most rewarding moment so far as a founder of 8 Sleep?
So one day I got an email from one of our customers, and he said that we saved his life. This person looked at his metrics. His metrics were upside down, and he went straight to ER. They found the health condition. He got the surgery, and that surgery saved his life. That's what we do at 8 Sleep.
It's funny. My girlfriend sent me her sleep score this morning before this interview, and it was 100.
Nice. That's good.
All right, I got a question. This is a personal one. Whoop and 8 Sleep, when are they going to be in? Is there going to be a potential to sync them? Because I'd love for my sleep score. Like I get a sleep score from my Whoop now, and then also from my 8 Sleep, and then sometimes the numbers aren't always exactly the same. What's your plans there?
We don't see Whoop as a competitor, so we are more than happy to talk with Will and anyone in his team to do something good for our customers. There is a lot of overlap, and the big difference between us and wearables, they do a really good job at tracking, right? But we go beyond that because through temperature and elevation, we improve your sleep actively. And so the faster they grow, the better it is for us because they educate millions of people about the importance of sleep. And then a percentage of these millions of people will buy my product. And so I wish Whoop the best. And I just hope they sell millions of units because a large part of their customers will also be our customers. And we're not competitors, at least from my point of view. Then I don't know what Will thinks. But
what advice would you give to founders that are looking to start a business in a rapidly evolving space like tech or wellness?
One of the things you hear a lot from YC partners, but I honestly always disregarded, is the importance of committing to a certain mission for a very long period of time. Meaning what I have seen in 2020, 21, when there was a hype and a sort of bubble in Silicon Valley, is a lot of people were just starting companies because it was such a hot moment. It was impossible to raise money. And then when things started going south and they had to figure out how to recover, not all of them, they were really serious about the mission and sticking with that problem, right? And so you will face probably a recession in 10 years plus of a company. Now, on average, it takes 10 years plus to take a company public or a big exit. And so are you really passionate about that topic so badly that you are open to going through 4 or 5 times when you're running out of money and you have to fight to still build your vision?
Yeah. So you would say it takes at least 10 years to build something of true worth and significance?
10 to 15.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, there will be a lot of death valleys in the middle, and you get very close to those valleys. And so it's not going to be a linear, stable moment. 15 years is a long period of time, and there will be a lot of ups and downs. And so are you really serious about the problem enough to go through that pain?
The thing with you guys, though, is, you charge a subscription as well to your device, which is fantastic for the business model. So people pay for the hardware, then there's obviously a subscription, not too dissimilar to Apple and many of their devices and services. How did you get death valleys before you launched the subscription model?
Well, the subscription we just launched it 2 years ago, right? And so we didn't have it before. And so that is another thing you have to do to make the business work, because there are recurring costs associated with our product. There is the storage of the data, there is the processing of the data, right? And so that is why we need to charge, because if each device starts costing you even a couple of dollars or $4 or $5 a month, once you have millions of devices, you start burning $4 or $5 million per device.
Yep. No, it makes sense. But obviously, having that level of somewhat predictability, and the product would be insanely sticky, because once you integrate it into your life, you're not going to you're not going to stop using the product.
Exactly.
And the gamification is very clever as well.
But let me tell you one more thing that would be interesting. It actually comes from a chat I had with Paul Graham, the founder of our community. And I think if we do a good job, and we will do a good job, we want to build a lifetime relationship with you, a recurring lifetime relationship with you. And I tell you why. Your sleep will only get worse as you age, right? That is pretty well known. As you get older, your sleep deteriorates, it gets worse. So you will need our products more. At the same time, our products and our AI intelligence and models, they will become better, right? So your sleep is going down, it's getting worse. Our product is getting better. And I think if 8 Sleep does its job really, really well, once you join what we call the Sleep Fitness Club, so once you join our community and our world, you will stick with us, hopefully for the rest of your life, because we will introduce more product, more services, more metrics, more sensors that will help you improve your sleep even if you're getting older.
Yep, agree. And that's what it's all about. It's about relationships at scale.
Correct. Can I have a 50-year-old relationship with you? Because I deliver value to you, right? It's not about the money. Can I be valuable for you for the next 50, 100 years?
100%. So that would bring me to my next question is, what's next for 8 Sleep? How do you see the future of sleep technology evolving?
There is a lot. We are working on a lot of products, very exciting. The key thing is we are becoming the most knowledgeable company in the world at sleep. We are focused only on sleep, right? We don't look at your activity during the day. What we do is sleep optimization. We collect your data, and based on that, we do things for you while you're asleep. Temperature is one, snoring mitigation is another one, and in the future, we'll control air, oxygen, air quality, oxygen level, light, noise. And so we want to handle everything that could maximize your sleep performance at night, and we want to do the job for you.
Love it. Look, the next big purchase for me will be getting a next level air filter, because they say that that's really, really important for your sleep. Correct?
It's important together with oxygen level and light and noise.
Yep. And then the light, I've already got my room fully blacked out. That's really important.
Yep.
What about the covers? Like your bedding itself? What kind of what do you recommend? What do you use?
I can't say it. But the future is bright.
Okay. Well, look, Matteo, last question, we'll wrap there. Any final parting words of wisdom for our community of early stage startup founders? Anything you'd love to share, anything you believe would be really parting words of wisdom to help our community?
Keep going, right? It's got to be tough. It's part of the game. Everyone goes through that. Just keep going and enjoy the ride.
All right, man. Thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Of course. Cool, man. Thank you so much.
If you love this episode, make sure to check out my interview with Emma Greed on how solving a problem she was so passionate about led to the creation of Skims and Good American.
And so I do think it's so much of it starts with like addressing things that bother you, that you find, you've got to create a solution for, because, at the end of the day, you've got to be passionate enough and sometimes crazy enough to go round and round and round to actually solve a problem.